All rise, please.
Good morning, everyone. If you'd please join me for O Canada, followed by a moment of quiet contemplation, and maybe keep in mind our friends and family out in Tumberley Ridge, BC, about the horrible tragedy that happened out there. It's always hurtful when we see some of our fellow citizens suffering. Okay, thank you. Please be seated. So I guess I'll start with our roll call. I'll look for my clerk.
Thank you, Warden. Good morning, members. We have all members of council in attendance with a couple of exceptions. Councillor Hamlin is absent with alternate Councillor Jeffrey in attendance. And Councillor Measures is currently absent with alternate Councillor Broderick in attendance, and you have your quorum. Thank you, Warden.
Thank you, Jonathan. Does anybody have to leave early today? I'm not seeing any, so we shouldn't have any quorum problems. So I'll look for the approval of the agenda. Councillor Dolan, please.
Thank you, Your Worship. Moved by myself and seconded by Councillor Fryer that the agenda for February 24th, 2026 meeting of County Council be approved.
Any questions arising from the agenda? Not seeing any, so all in favor? That is carried. Thank you. Next, is there a disclosure of pecuniary interest by any member of council? I'm not seeing any, but if you find yourself in that situation later, please declare it at that time. Presentations and delegations, we have none. Consent agenda. Councillor Burkett, there you are.
Good morning, Your Worship. Through you, moved by myself, second by Councillor Norcross, that the Council Communications and Proclamations February the 10th, 2026 to February the 23rd, 2026 have been given due consideration be received.
Any questions on the consent agenda? Comments? I'm not seeing any, so all in favor? That is carried. Thank you. And Deputy Warden, if you'd be kind enough to do the minutes, please.
Thank you, Your Worship. Moved by myself, seconded by Councillor Van Stafford, that the following council minutes be confirmed and adopted. Committee of the Whole reports be confirmed. County Council minutes, February 10th, 2026. Committee of the Whole report, February 10th, 2026. And Committee of the Whole confidential report, February 10th, 2026.
Thank you. Any business or questions arising from the minutes? Not seeing any, so all in favor? That is carried. Thank you. And presentations and considerations of the Committee of the Whole report, Chair Evans, please.
Thank you, Your Worship, and good morning, Council. For the Committee of Whole Report for February 10th, 2028, moved by myself, seconded by Councillor Norcross. The motion being that the performance management recommendations contained within the Committee of the Whole Report dated February 10th, 2026 be approved. Back to you, Warden. Thank you.
Any items to be pulled from performance management? Not seeing any, so all in favor? That is carried. Thank you. And now Human Services, Chairman Smith. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Your Worship. Good morning, everybody. This is for the Committee of the Whole Report, Human Services, February 10th, 2026, moved by myself and seconded by Councillor Snell, that Human Services recommendations contained within the Committee of the Whole Report dated February 10th, 2026 be approved.
Any items to be pulled from Human Services? I am not seeing any, so all in favor? That is carried. Thank you. And now Chair Dolan.
Thank you. Worship, moved by myself and seconded by Councillor Miskimins that the corporate services recommendations contained within the Committee of the Whole Report dated February 10th, 2026 be approved, including the confidential item.
Any items to be pulled from corporate services? Not seeing any, so all in favor? That is carried. Thank you. And Deputy Warden, presentation and considerations of special reports.
Thank you, Your Worship. Moved by myself, seconded by Chair Evans, that the recommendations contained within the Governance Committee report dated February 3rd, 2026 be approved.
Any questions arising from the governance report? Not seeing any, so all in favor? That is carried as well. Thank you. Presentations and considerations of county officers' reports. We have none, no motions to be given, none which have previously been given, no closed session. Consideration of the bylaws. Councillor Norcross, there you are.
Thank you, Your Worship. Moved by myself, second by Councillor Burkett, that bylaw number 7167-26 be enacted as a bylaw of the County of Simcoe.
Thank you. No comments. Then all in favor? That is carried. Thank you. Now announcements. I have a few of them here. This is a reminder. This is the last of our hybrid meetings. So starting March 10th, we're all back in person, but keep in mind if there's a situation you can't make it, the option is available to join online. Council members are invited to join me after the Committee of the Whole for the It Starts flag raising. This year, the significant marking the 10th anniversary of It Starts campaign. As with last year, communications will coordinate a photo opportunity out in the atrium following the flag raising with frames available. And I see some of you are wearing your Sunday best here, so perfect for the photo op. Lastly, a reminder to the council members to complete the Accreditation Canada Governing Body Survey and to email it to clerks@simcoe.ca. We're at about 50% now, and we need 85%. And I haven't done mine yet. I will get it done in the next couple of days. As I said, I'm one of the worst. So if I can do it, I expect everybody else to please get that in. Is there any other announcements, members of council? Councillor Fryer.
Thank you, Warden Clark. And in recognition of tomorrow being Pink Shirt Day, I wanted to mention and recognize a champion in our local area, Trevor Henson, who had planned on being here today. I'd hoped to recognize him in the audience, but he's championed it with the school board for 20 years now in our local. And tomorrow we will have flag raise, and I appreciate the county's proclamation in regards to Pink Shirt Day, and you're planning to attend the flag raise. And I just wanted to recognize Trevor for his efforts, because he's championed it, and our community fully embraces it, and I appreciate Simcoe County's recognition as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Any other announcements? Yes, Councillor Gordon.
Thank you, Your Worship. Just a reminder that this Saturday, the 28th, is the coldest night of the year fundraiser. That's basically the big fundraiser for our shelter services all across Canada, but most specifically within Simcoe County. I'll remind folks watching online that the county, through the province and through the county, funds the lion's share of shelter operations in our community. However, there is a funding deficit, as there are in all things, and they really count on the community's support. So I know in my community in Midland, we host a shelter. There's one in Aurelia, of course there's Barrie, and there's others throughout the county, and of course throughout the province. So anybody who feels moved to help donate, there's no minimum or maximum donation. Just visit the CNOY website, Coldest Night of the Year website. find a team in your community. Feel free to walk on Saturday with us, or simply make a donation and a pledge to help support and fill that funding gap. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Any other announcements? Not seeing any online. Looks like that's it. So I will go to the confirmatory bylaw. Councillor Norcross.
Thank you, Your Worship. Moved by myself, second by Councillor Evans, that bylaw number 7168-26 be enacted as a bylaw of the County of Simcoe. Thank you.
On the bylaw, all in favor? That is carried. Thank you. And now I'll look for a mover and a seconder that the February 24th, 2026 meeting of County Council be adjourned at 9:10 a.m. Moved by Councillor Locke, second by Councillor Walker. All in favor? That is carried. Thank you. We'll just give a few minutes for our city reps to join us and we'll get right into committee of the whole. Okay, I'll turn it over to my clerk for roll call.
Thank you, Warden. So in addition to the members of council in attendance, we're joined by the city representatives, Aurelia Councillor Durnford, Aurelia Councillor Fallis, Aurelia Mayor McIsaac, Barrie Councillor Nagusi, Barrie Councillor Rietma, and Barrie Mayor Nuttall is absent. You have your quorum. Thanks, Warden.
Thank you. I will look for the approval of the agenda. Councillor Dolan, please.
Thank you. Moved by myself and seconded by alternate Councillor Jeffrey that the agenda for the February 24th, 2026 meeting of Committee of the Whole be approved.
Any questions rising from the agenda? Not seeing any, so all in favor? That is carried. Thank you. Next, do I have a disclosure of pecuniary interest by any member of council? Not seeing any, but again, if you find yourself in that situation later, please declare it at that time. So first off, we have Human Services, Chair Smith, please.
Thank you very much, Your Worship. We're now in Human Services part of the agenda. 5.1 is the 2026 It Starts campaign, and I'll ask for a mover and a seconder. So moved by Councillor Rawson, seconded by Councillor Fryer. That the CCW 2026-039 dated February 24, 2026 regarding the Simcoe County Local Immigration Partnership 2026 Public Education Campaign to reduce discrimination, It Starts, be received, and that member municipalities and the separated cities be encouraged to participate in the It Starts campaign between March 1st and 31st, 2026, including hosting a flag raising and issuing a municipal proclamation supporting the initiative and recognizing March 21st, 2026 as the International Day for the Elimination of Racial Discrimination. Questions or comments on this matter? And before I do that, anything to add, General Manager Baguette Fayez?
Thank you, Chair Smith. Just a similar campaign every year. This is the 10th year of the It Starts campaign. And in this year, we are trying something a little differently. Rather than focusing on 1 month of awareness, which is what the campaign's achieved over the last 10 years, we're rolling out events throughout the year with our partner champions, so that not only do we do the awareness for this month, but we continue the action through different events throughout the year. And we'll be sharing those throughout the year on social and other mechanisms, and maybe through announcements here at council, to encourage everyone to try to participate or continue to promote these events. Thank you.
Thank you very much. GM, any questions or comments on this matter? All right, seeing none then, I'll call the question. All in favor? Opposed, if any? That motion carries. Moving on to item number 6, Human Services Long-Term Care Committee and Management. And I'll turn this over to General Manager St. Clair. General Manager St. Clair?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Good morning, everyone. I'm pleased to introduce our video as part of our It Takes a Village series. And today's video focuses on seniors campuses, and the timing is great with our large development underway. So I hope you enjoy today's video. Thank you.
I think it's really good for our community that we have this sort of thing to offer them, because we know that oftentimes moving from home into long-term care is very hard. And so having the senior service side, there's a variety of placements where they could live. The village is great because it's kind of like that one-stop shop where, you know, we have the life labs, the doctor's offices, the hearing clinic, the hairdresser, the pool, the gym, and it's really community-based. And there's a lot of programs that are offered. And again, it's not just for retirement, it's for all the buildings to kind of come together.
There's always something going on in the activity room. Like this afternoon, we went out for a bus ride and we ended up in Yvale. We have bingo every Monday night. I had never played bingo till I came here. It's always a lot of fun.
I hear a lot of good things about from the residents about living at the village. I hear them, they enjoy the different activities, the VIP night, the gatherings with friends.
We're very happy. We've got exercise facilities. We've got ways to get together with other people, to play cards, to be entertained, to learn. I've learned a lot, even in the garden, from people that lived on farms. So it's an exchange of ideas. We're quite happy with that, with the socialization.
We get to take them on golf cart rides. We get to play games with them. I've seen a lot of joy. We have a lot of fun. We try to involve them in everything, and yeah, they're very happy. I love coming to work just for that, just to see their smile and know that they're happy, and they can feel that, and they love being here.
Well, you know, it's always great when we see these videos, especially with respect to our long-term care, and, you know, General Manager Sinclair and her team and all of the staff in these units do such an amazing job. You know, there's a lot of these places out there, but I'm not so sure that anyone does it as well as the county does, that's for sure. So Jim Sinclair, to you and your team, congratulations, another job well done. Questions or comments on this matter? All right. Councillor Dolan?
When can I move in?
Well, if you're in a rush, you go ahead. I'm in no rush. It looks fun, but I'll
Councillor
wait.
McDonald has her card up.
Oh, all right. Thanks very much. Councillor McDonald.
Thank you, Chair. I just want to say that as we all start to age and or our loved ones are aging, it is so nice that they are able to move from a home that was filled with love and everything to go to one that has that same feel. They have others there that they make friendships with, and they know that they're not alone. And all the activities and everything keeps them alert, keeps them happy and healthy. So I'd just like to say a huge congratulations to Jane St. Clair and all of her team, because there's not always everyone that's lucky enough to be able to go to somewhere like this, that they be able to live out their life in such a great place. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Councillor McDonald. Any other questions or comments on this matter? All right, seeing none, we'll now move on to item number 7, which is other matters for consideration. Does anyone have any other matters for consideration for Human Services today? Getting off easy today. Thank you very much for that. All right, thank you very much. We'll turn it back to you, Warden.
Thank you, Chair Smith. I will now turn it over to Chair Dolan for corporate services.
Thank you, Warden. So we're on item 8, which is the consent list for corporate services. We have 3 items on that list. We have the rural intersection illumination from Bradford West Gwillimbury, the 2025 solid waste data summary, and the letter dated February 10th from Springwater regarding residential recycling services concerns. Would anyone like to pull any of those 3 items? Seeing none, I just would like to say that we did receive a request from MTerra, so they will be coming to do a delegation to the county, I believe, on March the 10th. Sorry, not from MTerra, from Circular Materials, CIMA, on March the 10th. And I have a question from Councillor Sandu.
Thank you, Chair. I have a question about 2026-61, if that's okay.
Thank you. So why don't we get a mover and a seconder then to receive the other two items in the consent list, and then we'll go to that one. So mover and a seconder, please, that items 8.2 and 8.3 haven't been given due consideration be received. Moved by Deputy Warden Coughlin, seconded by Councillor Anderson. All those in favor? That's carried. Go ahead, Councillor Sandhu.
Thank you, Chair. First, I appreciate staff coming up with this report and applying the policy consistently. I understand the TAC warrant has been in place since 2006, and it has guided many decisions in Simcoe County, across the county. That said, 2006 was 20 years ago. Bradford West Gwillimbury today is not the same community it was then. We're one of the fastest growing municipalities in Simcoe County. Traffic volumes, development patterns, and other usage of rural corridors have changed significantly. So my question is to staff, has the TAC warrant system been formally reviewed or modernized to reflect current growth patterns, particularly in high growth municipalities like ours?
Thank you. Jim Elliott.
Thank you, through the chair. That's a specific question related to the Transportation Association manual. I'm going to defer that to Director Miley to address that. Thank you.
Thank you, Director.
Thank you, GM Elliott, and good morning, Council. In terms of the warrant criteria itself, Councillor Sandhu is correct. It has been in place since 2006. To the best of my understanding, that criteria has not been reviewed. However, it does take into consideration growth aspects, as there's pieces in the warrant analysis that include traffic as it increases. That creates more justification for illumination. Collisions, nighttime collisions, so that there is a growth component as part of that analysis that's included in the warrant.
Thank you.
Thank you for clarifying that. I'm good, Chair. Thanks.
Thank you. So could I get a mover and a seconder, please, to receive the rural intersection illumination Bradford West Gwillimbury? A move by Councillor Sandhu and seconded by Councillor Van Staveren. All those in favor? That is carried. Next, we'll go to item 9, which is engineering. And the first item is 9.1, the Town of Bradford West Gwillimbury Council Resolution, intersection line 9 and 10th Side Road traffic mitigation measures. Questions or comments on this item? Councillor Duke.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and through you to our director, our general manager, Elliott. Love the report. Thank you very much for the report. Did a great job. I just wanted to see, as this moves forward, you're going to do more traffic counts. You're going to update some of the items within this report. We know that we have the Bradford bypass coming by, and there is an actual interchange right at that 10th Side Road, just south of the 9th line. Wondering when you're reviewing things, if you could look at alternatives for that intersection, and I'm more looking at a roundabout there. I think that would be an ideal opportunity for a roundabout, looking at that area. So I'm just wondering if we could incorporate that into this, into your findings to see if it warrants a roundabout in that intersection area, because there was enough accidents. I mean, we've seen, the report indicated about the accidents and everything. So I'm just wondering if that's something that could be looked at further through this report.
Jim Elliott.
Thank you. I think at this point in time, knowing some of the driving factors behind those collisions, we had some detours happening in that area over the last while due to construction activities or whatnot. Staff did look at options and did recommend that the reduction in the speed limit at this point in time would be the appropriate action. I think we'd be a little ways off warranting a roundabout, but as Bradford West Gwillimbury and the county builds out, we certainly always look at traffic counts and look at warrants for those types of improvements.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments on this item? Could I ask for a mover and a seconder on this item, please? Councillor Jeffrey and Councillor Walker, that item CCW 2026-058 dated February 24th, 2026 regarding the Town of Bradford West Gwillimbury Council Resolution requesting line 9 and 10 Side Road traffic mitigation measures be received, and that the existing right-of-way control at line 9 and 10 Side Road be maintained, and that the speed limit reduction on 10 Side Road as outlined within CCW 2026-058 be approved, and that Consolidated Traffic Bylaw 7098-24 be amended and the necessary bylaw be presented to County Council for consideration. Questions or comments? Seeing none, all those in favor? That is carried. Thank you. Next is item 10. 10.1 is solid waste management, and it is recycling for industrial, commercial, and institutional properties, also known as IC&I. I believe I'm going to pass it over to Jim Elliott, we're going to have a short few slides before we open debate.
Thank you, Chair Dolan. Staff were asked to look at options for collecting recyclable materials from the IC&I sector. So they've done a fair bit of homework and provided this report for you today, but we thought it would be prudent to spend a couple of minutes just walking through the options because there's a number of them and explaining to you why we've landed on the recommendation we're at today. So joining us and not new to most of you is Laura Barrett and Rob McCullough, who's the Director of Waste, and Laura's our Manager of Collections. So we've got a short slide deck that we'll walk through and happy to answer questions once we're done.
Good morning, Council. So I'm going to just quickly run through a few slides here to explain the options for the recycling for the industrial, commercial, and institutional properties. So as you're aware, the Blue Box regulation stipulates who is eligible for curbside collection and who is not. So our eligible sources are our residential and any properties from the multi-residential schools, long-term cares that the county previously serviced. Unfortunately, this leaves out the industrial, commercial, and institutional properties. As a reminder, legislation also for the County of Simcoe, we were not required to service these residential or these IC&I units. However, it made sense to do so. Our trucks were going down the road, collecting residential units, and if the IC&I property put it out at the same limits as a residential unit, then we collected it. Of those 5,600 IC&I properties, there are about 2,100 that we did service prior to 2026. As I said, it was based on small quantity generators. So a larger organization or business that produced too much material was not eligible for service. Our limits were 2 carts per property. So even if there were multiple IC&I or businesses on one property, it was still 2 carts worth of service. So based on the Blue Box regulation, we did lobby the province in multiple different delegations, letters, various ways through the waste associations we belong to. And we did actually get a little bit of movement last June. There was a proposed amendment that the province put forward that would have allowed IC&I to be collected. However, in October, as you're aware, and we reported to Council, that was a letter from the Minister of the Environment said that they were not moving forward with that proposed amendment. So that put us back to, as of January 1, 2026, IC&I properties were no longer eligible. So since January, there may have been some properties that have set up their own recycling because we have done quite a bit of promotion education to IC&I. So starting in 2024, when the original decision was brought to Council, we had a flyer developed. We hand-delivered those to those 2,100 properties. Since then, we've completed various in-person emails, phone calls. We've done social media, an app, radio, news releases. We've provided information through municipal toolkits to the lower tier municipalities to help us get the information out there. We also did virtual information sessions for both the BIAs and Chamber of Commerce organizations, as well as local municipalities. So the information was out there, and I believe some IC&I may have already tried to find another method of collection. However, there are some that have not. So the options we've looked into. I just want to remind Council, we're trying to provide this similar level of service that we provided previous to 2026. So for those small quantity generators. So that's what each of these options looks at, is providing some sort of service to those small quantity generators. I also, as our recommendation, staff's recommendation, is to continue with status quo. We continue to believe that the province and the producers should be responsible for that pop can that was disposed of at home versus at a business. It's the same pop can, they should still be responsible. We understand that this might not address immediate concerns. However, there is currently in December 2025, there was a legislation passed through the Protect Ontario by Cutting Red Tape Act, which amended the Resource Recovery and Circular Economy Act. And what it said was that they could make a regulation that would require producers to allow an option for municipalities to have the producers collect on our behalf. Unfortunately, there's not a lot of information with respect to this legislation that was passed. We're not sure how it's going to be interpreted, but I do think that it is probably a little bit of a glimmer of hope there that maybe there is some movement. We have heard some, discussions happening between the producers and the pros and the government that, maybe there will be. We don't really know, but it is something that we can continue to advocate for. The other thing with option 1 is that if we proceed with any of the other options 2 through 4, it will require all taxpayers to subsidize the cost of recycling service just for the IC&I sector. So based on this, we also came up with other options. Options 2 through 4, they are all estimations. Often, actually, for pretty much all of the options, we do need to go to procurement first to be able to service, whether that be for the curbside collection, the transfer, the haulage, and the processing. So while I don't have exact costs, because whatever option is chosen, we will have to go to procurement for that. These are estimates based on what we have seen approximately. The other issue is that we also don't know that quantity of material, how many people are going to actually participate, whether it's through curbside or through drop-off, how much material are we actually going to receive? Because obviously, the more material you receive, the more that needs to be transferred, the more that needs to be processed, that sort of thing. So those are the things just to think about as we go through the options. So option 2 is curbside collection. We would do a similar as what we did before. So small quantity generators, maximum of 2 360-liter carts per property, not per unit, with no overflow. We would say that the cost for collection is significantly higher. We don't have those economies of scale anymore. We used to service almost 150,000 units, and now we would service 2,100. So there's a lot more kilometers traveled and a lot less units serviced for that. So we really don't have those economies of scale. Because we would have to go through procurement for both the collection, the transfer, and the processing, the timing of this is not like something we can just turn it on tomorrow. We would have to go through that process, and we would likely not be able to start the service until the end of summer. We continue to use the carts. Currently, we do have some IC&I properties calling the county to pick up the carts they're not using anymore, but there are some IC&I properties still have their carts, so they would still use the same carts that they had. We would be able to service those carts through our existing program. We would ask residents or IC&I properties to sign up for collection so we know that who would actually use the service. And in order to distinguish those carts, we'd actually have to apply some sort of sticker on the side of them so that when the driver's driving down the street, they know that this is a designated IC&I location. We would try, so there are some areas of the county that receives 6 a.m. collection, so we would try to have that be maintained, but of course that's going to depend on the procurement process and the collection method and how that happens. Otherwise, I think we can move on to item 3, which is an option to drop off material at our waste facilities. So 3A and 3B are different. We did hear from council that they were looking to contemplate providing service to nonprofit locations. So 3B is specifically just to nonprofit locations, whereas 3A would be for all IC&I properties. Difference being here is it would still be based on per property for IC&I versus per actual business. So if we look at numbers, we have about 5,800 IC&I properties in the County of Simcoe, but businesses, we looked up according to Stats Canada, there's almost 40,000 businesses registered in the County of Simcoe. So it changes how much material we would be able to accept if we changed from a property to a actual business. Whereas the nonprofit, we would do it per business because oftentimes a nonprofit location is actually in a same location as an IC&I business, so on the same property. So it's a little bit harder to distinguish, but there are about 640 nonprofit businesses in the County of Simcoe that's through data through the Stats Canada. So in order to keep it fairly consistent to curbside service, we would do about 20 kilograms bi-weekly allowed to be dropped off at the sites. This would require us to implement a system where we would actually be able to track that. So it does require a little bit of software upgrades at our sites. And the 20 kilograms, if you're wondering, we base this off of our waste audits. We did a particular audit last year specifically for IC&I collection and figured that on average, every other week, a IC&I property puts out about 20 kilograms of material. So the only downfall to this is that the transactions at the sites would increase, so that could increase lineups, that sort of thing. And obviously we have to take into account costs. It's very difficult to figure out how much material is actually going to come to us, which is why it's a range for the costs estimated for that. Option 4 is similar to our current waste subsidy. So we have a waste subsidy for multi-residential properties, but it is based on a per unit basis. So it's a $1 per week per unit, so about $52 per unit per year. However, if we're going to keep this at the same level of service as IC&I to a single-family residential unit, then that waste subsidy would technically be $52 per year for that IC&I property. It's likely not sufficient to make any kind of difference in private recycling service. But it is an option that we provide to those multi-residential properties that we don't provide service to. Therefore, we thought it would be a good option for IC&I properties. And again, we made the distinction between providing that to all IC&I properties versus the nonprofit. This one, we probably wouldn't need quite as much time to get going because we're not actually having to procure for transfer and processing of materials. We would just need to set up the IT systems in order to get that process going. So we believe we'd be able to get it going by the beginning of summer. That is all of the options. I'm welcome to pass it back to the chair for questions.
Thank you, Manager Barrett. Before we go to questions and comments, I apologize, I missed Councillor Bell's card. Councillor Bell, you wanted to make a statement?
I did. I shut my camera off and my volume. This is a conflict of interest for me. It's one of the main lines of business for my business.
Thank you, duly noted. Thank you so much. I also wanted to let members know that there is a related confidential Schedule 1 to this report. So if people want to discuss that, we'll have to go into closed session to talk about that item. Councillor Gordon?
Well, thanks. I'm not suggesting we go into closed session. I was just putting my hand up for comments. So I'll let you carry on until you're ready for that.
Okay, so keeping in mind we can only talk about that schedule, we go into closed session. So let's open the floor for questions and comments now. And I'll go to Councillor Gordon.
Thank you. This is a head versus heart moment, I think, for many of us. But from my perspective, the 3B and the 4B options are where my heart wants to go to help out specifically the nonprofits who are struggling with this change that was sort of thrust upon them, on all of us, by the province. However, my head says the staff recommendation of status quo is really the responsible way to go. This isn't our monkey and it's not our circus anymore. We were stripped of this. We did a fantastic job for decades. Everybody recognizes that, and they know exactly where the problems are sourced now and coming from. It's still people that aren't even getting their residential recycling picked up with any regular frequency. Despite numerous calls to the agency who promises to leave the stuff out and they'll come get it tomorrow. Tomorrow never comes. It's growing pains I'm going to chalk it up to. But I think if we are going to increase a levy on all the ratepayers for something that they're already being taxed on by the province to deliver, and the province is clearly struggling in this capacity, we need to stay in our swim lane. There's a whole bunch of things we could opt for property taxation to try and fill in the gaps for where the province is failing to adequately fund or service our communities. And this is one of those slippery slope things. So my heart wants to help out the nonprofits specifically, not that I have any axe to grind with IC&I, they're critical to our economy. But if I was going to, put tax money onto this to make the government look good in this hour of not looking good, it would be for the nonprofits. But I think I need to lead with the head in this case, which is to side with staff and the recommendation status quo and ongoing lobbying with the province and letting people know when they're angry and upset about these changes. Don't look to us. We didn't ask for this. We've suggested and pleaded for, implementing this with more measure and more common sense, and it's not coming from the provincial side. So I don't know if us bailing them out is helping us. Even if we did it for a year, to get us through an election cycle, all it's doing is delaying the pain. It just means the province will have that much more time to defer making any meaningful changes. So I'll be siding with staff on this report, even though my heart is pulling me towards the other options, and I appreciate them being there.
Thank you, Councillor Gordon. Councillor Walker.
Thank you, Madam Chair. With respect to Royal Canadian Legions, where do they fit in on your definitions? Do you consider them profit or nonprofit?
Manager Barrett.
I'm not sure I can comment on that. I would say a nonprofit would be someone that is registered with the Government of Ontario as a non-for-profit organization. So I don't think I can comment on whether a Legion is or not.
From your perspective, though, for the recommendations that you've got here, where do the Royal Canadian Legions fit in?
Thank you to you, Madam Chair. I feel that they are nonprofit. I don't know that necessarily we've broken down all 680 that make up those, but I would, if the question came to me with dealing with the province, I'd call them nonprofit.
Okay, thank you. Because I do know that we do provide assistance to our legions through tax relief and so on. So thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Walker. Councillor Van Staveren.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Laura, in regards to question or item 3A and B in your recommendations, is there any economic value to the recycling that could be dropped off there? In other words, what's the dollar value of cardboard or pop cans or recycling? We all know that there's an increase, let's say beer bottles going into the fill now. And why I'm asking this is in regards to what we would save to the amount that we are going to be paying for landfilling or putting into garbage.
So unfortunately, yes, there is a value to some material and depending on the type of material, some materials are worth more than other types of materials. When we go to a processor, however, the processing costs, the haulage, the transfer far outweigh the value that we would get for that material. As far as comparing it to landfilling, likely it's probably more expensive than landfilling.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Thank you. I support that. What Laura says, essentially, in the past, when recycling was our responsibility, we usually had a revenue that came back. We had a processing cost that we paid out, and a revenue came back based on the basket of goods valuation. That's changed since January 1st, 2026. When we're going out to request processing of our recycling, they're keeping the profit. So the amount that we're paying for processing is inclusive of their keeping the profit. There's no split that's coming back to us. Are there individual items like cardboard and aluminum that have a significant value? Yes, that's not being included in the numbers that we're getting back. So the cost that we're getting for processing is higher, significantly, in fact, higher than what it takes to landfill, unfortunately.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Norcross.
Thank you, Madam Chair. The comments that I'm getting back is that status quo is not working for the individuals in the ICI and the not-for-profit sectors. And they're citing different things: room for storage of the containers, transportation, overflow, etc. Is it my understanding, though, that Miller does have trucks or recycling trucks that have been contracted to the county? And are we in a position where we could put something out to all the member municipalities, to the individuals that are directly affected, and maybe hook them directly up with Miller to see if there's a service they could directly provide? I know it'd be a cost. I'm not sure how to be administered through BIA's chambers or property taxes as a separate unit, but is that option available to be explored?
Director?
Through you, Madam Chair, we could look at numerous things, but I would say that Miller and any waste collection company does not have trucks sitting in their yard unused. They're profit driven, as you can well imagine. Their process is to keep the fleet right sized. We had a fleet of about 95 trucks when we were doing both garbage and recycling. They've removed about a third of that fleet and put it out to other areas across the province where they did get the contract for recycling. So yes, they have trucks, but no different than any other collection contractor. They can move trucks in from other areas for specific needs or specific contracts. I don't see them having enough trucks sitting around to do this unless they utilize the fleet that's already going out and doing the organics, and that's part of the problem, part of the issue that's been acknowledged as we look at the costs that's going forward.
Follow up, go ahead, Councillor.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Okay, so just to confirm then, these trucks have been repurposed to other revenue generating contracts, and the county's not responsible for subsidizing these trucks, whether or not they're being used.
That's correct.
Thank you.
Councillor Miskimings?
Thank you, Madam Chair, and through you. Although the province's decision last year to exclude IC&I is highly disappointing, I guess my question is, with all the garbage audits that we've done, have we got data on our IC&I, and will we be doing audits this year to see what the reduction in diversion has been from recycling? Again, I'm just trying to think of how do we arm ourselves with more data points so we can continue to go back to the province and try to get them to reverse a decision on this, because, you know, I think all of our concern is the capacity that we have within the province of Ontario to house garbage. And if it's not being diverted appropriately, you know, we're just going to run out of space faster. And since we were #2 in the province, we've got a pretty good track record of making sure that our products go in the right direction.
Yeah. Through you, Madam Chair, thank you for the question. That's very astute. We do have our waste audits that showed a baseline. We intend this summer to go back and do another waste audit, not only curbside, probably not, if you recall, we did it over 4 seasons. We will probably redo that next year, 2027, but we intend to this summer go out and do a summer audit to compare to this previous summer audit and see curbside, not only for residential, but for those participating IC&I locations, what that has. In addition to that, we do every month, used to be quarterly, but now we do it on a monthly basis, and we did it last year as well. Our tonnages received at all our facilities, both through the curbside programs and through the customers coming into our sites. So we'll be able to keep track of that. Now, looking on a month-to-month basis isn't really a perfect analysis. There could be a weather event, had a terribly cold January, and basically we don't have the same number of people coming to our sites. If we did look at January to January, I'd say we're not seeing an immediate increase in garbage, either curbside or at our facilities yet. I think that would be better picked up in our audits that we talked about for later this year.
Great.
Councillor Evans?
Thank you, Chair Dolan. I appreciate this. I'm looking at this from a more higher level and from a business profit loss perspective. You remember back in November, and I said the same thing, and don't worry with your, your recycling will still get picked up and everything will be smooth and 99% of the people won't see any difference as we move from one to the other. Personally, largely that's happened, which is good in a practical sense. But what it's done, though, I think, has given people the illusion that everything is the same. But I think we're missing the point that there's been a fundamental shift in not just direction from the policy, but in funds from the province. First of all, pre-2026, municipalities received, part or all of the costs that we needed for a recycling program, for blue box recycling. And it was funded from the province through a municipal funding allocation model. So we got revenue for it. We are in the business of recycling. What's happened now? Well, we still recycle on a street level, but now it's producers that have to pay for it. We don't receive money anymore for this. So we're out of the recycling business. Municipal level is out of the recycling business in Ontario. The province has made that very clear. It was nice that we serviced, frankly, it was nice that we serviced previous to this 2,100 of 5,600 roughly that we didn't have to, but we did, and that was nice, and I'm sure those people appreciated that. But to me, it's a question of dollars and cents here. We're not receiving money for this. So we're talking about coming up with stopgap measures on a short-term basis, sounds like, to keep people happy that now, have boxes blowing around the street. And I understand that's a problem. But, this is no different than the complaints I'm hearing in the community. People are going, well, the person in Oro Medonte that didn't have their recycling picked up for like 6 weeks or 12 weeks or whatever it was, which is bad. And then we can't take that on. That's not our business anymore. So for us to try and be all things to all people is never going to work, especially when we don't receive any money for it. So, this is garbage to me is a user pay system, no different than water or any other municipal service that we have, in the sense that we provide services to the people that pay the taxes. If there's businesses that want to have, pickup or a service, I'm sorry, they have to pass that through. I know it's, the non-profit, it tugs at the heartstrings, like Mayor Gordon said, and I totally understand that. But the reality is we're here for the majority, we're here for the whole community. And we cannot start, in my mind, thinking or even contemplating getting into a pseudo-type little kind of maybe recycling business for 2,100 residences out of 150,000 or pickup locations in the province or in the county. So I'm totally in favor of option number one, not without due regard it's unfortunate the province has not taken into consideration. I'm sure we're not the only people in the province that have been doing ICI pickup or some form of that. But that's what we're dealt. Those are the cards we're dealt, and we're not getting money to do anything else. And I'm not willing to put that added burden on all of taxpayers for something that only affects a small minority of it. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Evans. Any other questions or comments on this item? Councillor Cabral.
There we go. Sorry about that, Chair. The big screen and the small little pictures, it's tough to see that button. I have to concur with Councillor Gordon and also Chair Evans with respect to option number one. And I also agree the nonprofits are very important and we need to consider that. But at the same time, our taxpayers are paying for the service that they're getting right now. And this would be an added burden on the tax base to provide a service that, from the report, will cost 6 to 7 times the amount of money funding requirement in order to do it. There's two things that this really does in my mind, and one of them is this was the province's decision, the province's program, and what this council in some ways is considering is to let the province off the hook. I would suspect that other municipalities are going through the same thing, and my fear would be that even as a stopgap measure to turn around and provide the service does two things. It lets the province off the hook, which then really what is their need or pressure to provide the service that they should have provided in the very first place. And secondly, all of the folks that are looking to be included, the IC and Is, they're not going to pressure the province anymore because they're going to have this issue resolved from them by the wrong level of government. So I guess my point here is that that's the dilemma I see going forward. If we were to do anything but option number one, is really we need to encourage those folks that are not being provided the service that the provincial government should be providing through circular materials, to keep the provincial government lobbied in order to provide it. And as I said, I'm sure other municipalities are going through exactly the same thing. And it would be great if staff could reach out and maybe even through AMO to make a concerted effort to try and get folks to pressure the provincial government for what they rightly deserve, instead of us, unfortunately, trying to consider throwing it back on our residential tax base. Those are my only comments, and I'd be in favor of number one.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Smith.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and I would agree with many of my colleagues. I'm in favor of number one at this point as well, and I do agree. However, you know, at the heartstring level, this is a difficult decision, but that's why we're here. 2,100 out of 40,000 is about 5%. If you took 2.1 million, which is the estimated worst case of the cost here, it's about $1,000 a month divided by 2,100 businesses. I can tell you that, or IC&I, sorry. I can tell you that in my business, I spend $1,000, much more than $1,000 a month per location for garbage. This would be the cost of basically $1,000 a year. So although I think we need to, and these IC&Is need to lobby and send letters to their MPs and try to get this changed and get the province to take this responsibility on, as they should have in the beginning. My concern is two things. Either this product is not going to get picked up and it's going to end up on the streets, because I don't think small business or IC&I have any more time than any other business to be able to put it in their vehicles and take it to a landfill site to dump it. So I don't think that's an option. Or it's going to get put into the waste. It's going to get put into the garbage. And we're probably already seeing that. And I think we're really quickly going to see that, which is, you know, basically throws our diversion program out the window. And so I think that, you know, I'd like to see us do that calculation to the dollar and at least give IC&I operators that option and explain to them that, you know, $1,000 a year is a really good deal. Yeah, it's been free, but $1,000 a year is less than $100 a month to pick this up is a really good deal. So is that at least they have an option to opt in or opt out, and we'll have to look at that. But my concern is a diversion rate is going to drop. This county has worked for too many years, for far too long, far too hard. Our staff have worked their tails off to get this diversion to make it number one and now number two, but either one is great. So I'm okay to stay status quo, but I think it's important that at least we have an option for folks to opt in if they want to pay for that.
Thank you, Councillor Smith. Any other comments? Oh, Councillor Fryer, then Councillor Leduc.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you, staff. Really good update analysis and gave us a lot to think of. And as with everyone else, I hate to see something that was successful drop off the table, especially when it's so environmentally friendly. We'd already made the decision years back to provide the service to the IC&I, even though we didn't need to. So we made that decision to do it through the county taxes. So I wanted to just say that I came in leaning towards supporting 3A. And my reasoning behind that is that it would mean that you're actually working with active participants and not the whole IC&I. It appears like the cost could be in the range of $250,000 based on the analysis that I see here. And because I think the lower end, 180 that's shown, is probably based on about 1,400 or 1,500 participants. I think we'd be able to continue to advocate better if we were continuing to provide something. It's already a difficult lobby as it is with just 40% of participation and not all the regions in Ontario doing it. The past process is already in place for multi-res. So I wanted to just say to like that, those are my thoughts about the 3A. And I just say, or ask staff if they could, like, because maybe I'm not thinking of something, right? Like I'm thinking that if it is in that $250,000 range because of the number of participants we think we could see happen, it doesn't seem to be a big number to me, but I may be missing something about that part of the, so in regards to 3A, just your thoughts on it, please.
Starting?
Through you, Chair, sorry.
Director?
Through you, Madam Chair, a couple things. I absolutely understand where you're going with that. I would clarify a couple of things. Now, I wasn't part of council, but I was certainly here when we passed the IC&I servicing. One of the considerations that I think weighed highly on council's mind is the cost of curbside recycling was coming out of the general levy, which residents pay just as much as IC&I pays. So that there was some level of service for the IC&I community that we're paying and potentially subsidizing the residential sector without receiving any of the service should that have happened. What's happened now is that's been removed. The residents aren't paying for recycling through general levy. IC&I is not paying through general levy. If we put back in something like item 3A, that would come back out of general levy and would only support IC&I and not residential. So that's just a quick clarification on that. With respect to 3A, I agree with your financial analysis. We won't know until we get there how that would happen. The further thing, and I'm sure Laura's probably got additional things, the further thing that comes to my mind, being in charge of the waste facilities, is that will drive up traffic. We do have some very busy times at the site, which means we have to, at some time in the future, consider additional operating hours or additional facilities. This would put pressure to be able to increase that because it could significantly increase the number of visits to our site that reduces efficiency at the site, increases lineups and that sort of thing that go along with it. Laura?
The only other thing I would say is that option 3A would be for all 5,800 properties versus the 2,100 that currently get service. So we wouldn't be able to distinguish the 2,100 that did get service at the end of 2025 and say only those people could drop off material for free. It would have to be all 5,800. That being said, our current usage, we do have some larger IC&I that do use it and currently pay because there is that fee in place as of January 1. So they would receive the 20 kilograms free every 2 weeks and then pay beyond whatever they're bringing in. So it's just the other consideration I would, and that's about it.
Just to follow up, if I may, and I appreciate, I wanted to get the insight of staff because they're the ones with boots on the ground and understand it best. And I recognize it would be offered, but the likelihood of the ones who are already doing it being the ones that is very high obviously the likelihood of the ones who weren't doing it is probably very low. So it was just, I was trying to kind of come to something that I thought would be that compromise, which wasn't going to be too costly, but as I say, it would involve the active participants most likely that had been already doing it. So I really appreciate that insight, and thank you very much, Chair.
Thank you, Councillor Duke.
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. So I absolutely agree with all the comments made today. This is the provincial conundrum that they put us in when it comes to recycling. Where my thoughts were today was with 4B. Listening to the, looking at the 2,100 units out there and being 640 of them are being not-for-profit units. When you do some math with 640 of giving, and the subsidy is not a lot, it's $52. You look at that, it's $33,000 in the year. The county waste budget is approximately 30% of our overall budget when it comes to waste collections in our county. To me, that's not a huge number. It's, we're talking about churches, legions, food banks, things that give out to our community all the time, and to subsidize this at $52 to help out. And I know this, again, is a provincial issue. I'm not here saying that we should bail the province out again, but at the same time, we can advocate for the province and take these 640 units, help them out, because that money goes right back into our communities. And if we could do that within a budgeting framework that doesn't raise our taxes, I think we could find a way to find some efficiencies to create that $33,000 or $40,000 that it comes to in the end when we come to education programming, literature like that. So to me, it's not a large cost, and it's something that we support our not-for-profits. And that's the real key for me, is supporting the not-for-profits. The province's idea about producer responsibility was great in principle. The way they delivered it has cost us in our communities. And this is, the not-for-profits are very important in our communities. We subsidize them constantly. We help them out as much as we can. And to me, this is one area where I think within our budgeting system, and it doesn't tell us how we pay for that, Rob, but I'm hoping that within your budget, being such a large portion of the county budget, that we would be able to find that type of money to help subsidize at least $52 a year to these not-for-profits that could put back into our communities. It really goes right back into our communities. So if there's a way we can do that without impacting taxation and helping 640 not-for-profits, legions, churches, food banks, other agencies that we all send money to, I think it's something that I'd like to sit there and review. And I'm not here to say we want to bail the province up, but at the same time, I think we need to look at our not-for-profits. They're the most important part of our communities. And when we take that, when we force them to go out and buy those contracts, it just costs us all money, because it's our money that they're buying those contracts with. So if there's a way we could do 4B without it impacting taxation, I would love to look at that to see if we could help out our not-for-profits. That's where I'm with my thoughts. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments? Councillor Greenlaw.
Thank you very much, Chair Dolan. I appreciate everyone's comments, but supporting anything other than option one would be sending the wrong message to the province, which is one that advocates and supports provincial downloading. This is all this is. This is provincial downloading in a different disguise. So at the end of the day, we need to send a consistent message. The province has got to step to the plate. We have a landfill capacity issue we're dealing with. There's also the environmental responsibilities that need to be taken into consideration. But we need to stay in our lane on this one and send a consistent message. This is no different than the OPP downloading to the municipalities and counties. So we need to stay fixed, from my opinion, and support number one.
Thank you, Councillor Snell.
Thank you, Chair Dolan. If we were to implement option 4, what would the execution look like? Because each of these not-for-profits are going to be using potentially different vendors. So would they receive a $56 check from the county, and how would we ensure that that would be applied to their cost? It's my first question, please.
Manager Barrett.
Way that we do the multi-residential waste subsidy. So we have an application form that the property would fill out. Through that application form, it requires them to provide proof of service, and that is usually through a contract or a invoice or multiple invoices. And so once they provide that, then we process the payment after the fact. We usually do it once per year. We don't, so for instance, the multi-residential waste subsidy, city, we process it in November of the year. So the applications will go out early fall, and we process those applications, and then the payments are all made at once to all of the properties that apply. So we would do the same method as the multi-residential.
Thank you. Is any follow-up, Councillor Snell?
Thank you, Chair Dolan. Just a comment. If the vote ends up going towards option A, as recommended in your staff report, I'm assuming that staff are planning to go out and collect those carts back, given the volume and the cost of that inventory.
Manager Barrett.
As is right now, anybody that's not using those carts is asked to contact the county to request removal of those carts. So that would remain. We use our cart servicing crew to do that. So they would collect those carts.
Thank you. Councillor Norris.
Thank you, Councillor Dolan. It's a quick question. This is the provincial's problem as far as I'm concerned, or always has been, and it's going on. The question comes, what reasons have they given why they're not providing the service to IC&I?
Through you, Madam Chair, this is a significant question we've gotten quite a bit. I think what I always try and point out is the province's legislation has always only been for single-family residential, and that means up to 5 units on one piece of property. Anything above that is commercial. The difference in the legislation that they did make was actually including more, because they included multi-residential. Right now, as Laura pointed out earlier, the multi-residential they're currently servicing those that we served before. For the most part, those are townhouse complexes that we can get our trucks in and do collection. Apartment buildings up and down, we're supposed to come in January 1st this year. They've pushed that out. The Circular Materials has been a very effective lobbying group. You probably be here. The CEO of Circular Materials will probably be here next week for you to maybe ask that question of again. But I've heard that question go directly to him. Why aren't you doing IC&I? It's because they don't have to. It's going to cost them more money. They're a nonprofit providing service to profit companies, the Loblaws, the Pepsis of this world, right? They don't want to spend more money than they have to, and the province did not build that into the legislation. They took over from where they were. To be clear, we went beyond our mandate by providing that IC&I service. That was not a mandate for the county. It continues to make all the sense in the world because small generating IC&I generate similar types, similar quantities to residential. We already have the type of trucks that make the most sense for that, is to pick up those 360-liter carts. It makes the most sense in the world to continue that. The province, we started talking to them when this legislation first came out back in 21, I believe. We've met with the ministers ever since. Every year we've tried to put in a request and meet with them. They have listened to some of our thoughts on it. I think we're responsible for getting schools serviced. That was one of the first things that we pointed out, is we provide service in the schools that provides necessary education for those children that they bring home, and makes all the sense for going forward. So I think we have been partially successful in some of our lobbying efforts with the provincial government. The provincial government, to this point, has been unwilling to look at IC&I, thinking each business should provide for their own methods of recycling. Where I feel that is correct is any big businesses that create, you need a front end truck, a different type of vehicle to service that property. The province has been very poor at ensuring waste diversion in businesses. We believe 2/3 of the waste generated in Ontario actually comes from the IC&I sector, only 1/3 from ours. We're at the county over about 60% diversion. It's under the 20s for the IC&I. And we think the province needs to spend a lot of time with the IC&I, and I think the best way for them to do it is to start to provide service for those small IC&I generators through the residential program that's already going well, and to set new legislation regs 103, 102, 103, and do some enforcement in those businesses, because the lack of waste diversion in the IC&I sector in Ontario is a real problem.
Thank you, Councillor McDonald.
Thank you, Chair Dolan. And first, I'd like to just say thank you to staff for the great report. And I do agree with all comments on both sides of my colleagues. I do know this is a province issue, and they didn't roll it out very well, but it's done. And so my biggest concern is for the nonprofits, because whatever money they have to take now to get rid of their recycling is something that is not going to be able to feed the people through the food banks. It's whether it's you're going to the legions, they give money out to the churches. It's always the need. They pick up the slack that the governments aren't able to do also. So that would be my biggest concern. And I mean, I feel for the businesses also, but if I was having to look at something, I know that the not-for-profit is going to suffer. So who suffers the most is those that depend on those agencies. So those are just my comments. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor McDonald. So I think we'll go to the vote. I just wanted to reiterate that I liked the heart and head comments particularly, and we have to stop propping up the province when on the other hand, they simply choose not to prop us up when it comes to things like development charges and so on. Like, there comes a point where we have to make sure that people are aware that it is a provincial responsibility and not ours. So I'm very clear with when I understand the pressure, because we're the one who get the phone calls. We're the ones who hear about it. So I make sure that my MPP's office gets those phone calls as well, because when they get a call about snowplows or potholes, they're quick to make sure that I get those phone calls. So I think it's our responsibility to make sure they understand the volume of calls that we're getting. And also, advocacy-wise, on March the 10th, when SEMA's here, maybe we talk not about all IC&I, but maybe we talk about not-for-profits. Maybe we put them on the spot and say, what about food banks? What about churches? What about legions? And see if we can't get that. Because as Director McCullough said, we've seen this coming for years, and we advocated every year like a broken record. So it's not like they didn't know that this was a problem. But now that it's upon us, I think maybe we take advantage of SEMA coming in and let them say no to the churches and the food banks. Having said that, I'm seeing no other hands. So can I please ask for a mover and a seconder? Moved by Councillor Gordon and seconded by Chair Evans, that item CCW 2026-062 dated February 24th, 2026 regarding recycling for industrial, commercial, and institutional properties be received, and that staff proceed with option 1, status quo, and continued advocacy as generally outlined in CCW 2026-062. All of those in favor of that recommendation? Any opposed? 2 opposed. That's carried. Next, we'll go to item 11, that's corporate services, other matters for consideration. Item 11.1, Economic Development Subcommittee report from February 10th. Any questions or comments on the Economic Development Subcommittee? Seeing none, could I ask for a mover and a seconder, please? Moved by Councillor Norris, seconded by, who else did I see? Councillor LaRose. That the recommendations contained within the Economic Development Subcommittee report dated February 10th, 2026 be approved. All those in favor? That is carried. And finally, item 11.2, which is the Planning Advisory Committee report dated February the 17th. Questions or comments on that? Seeing none, moved by Councillor Michael Smith, seconded by Councillor Walker, that the recommendations contained within the Planning Advisory Committee report dated February 17th, 2026 be approved. All those in favor? That's carried. And now I'll ask if there's any other matters for consideration under corporate. Seeing none, I'll pass it back to you, Warden.
Thank you, Chair Dolan, and Chair Evans, if you could do the last of performance management, please.
I would be happy to. Thank you, Your Worship. No consent items today for performance management. Just one other item under consideration, which is the Audit and Finance Committee report of February 3rd, 2026. Any comments or questions on this item? Seeing none, can I have a mover and a seconder, please? I'll get some people. Councillor Bell, thank you, and Councillor Cox, appreciate that. Motion is that the recommendations contained within the Audit and Finance Committee report dated February 3rd, 2026 be approved. All those in favor? Those opposed? Motion is carried. Thank you very much. Are there any other matters for consideration under performance management? Seeing none, Your Worship, I will pass it back to you.
Thank you. That was a lot quicker than the audit committee was when we were at it a few weeks ago. The closed session item, does anybody feel the need to go in camera? I mean, we've finished with the issue. It's for information. Not seeing any, so I will read that motion here. The confidential schedule 1 to item CCW 2026-062 recycling industrial, commercial, and institutional properties regarding a trade secret or scientific, technical, commercial, financial, or labor relations information supplied in confidence to a municipality or local board, which, if disclosed, could reasonably be expected to prejudice significantly the competitive position or interfere significantly with the contractual or other negotiations of a person, group of persons, or organization be received. Moved by, Councillor Anderson, second by Councillor Crabell. All in favor? That is carried. Thank you. I guess I'm looking for adjournment now. Can I have that the February 24th, 2026 Committee of the Whole meeting be adjourned at 10:20 a.m. Moved by Councillor McDonald, second by Councillor Van Stavern. And please join me out at the flagpole immediately following. Don't leave me standing out there in the cold. All in favor? That is carried. Thank you very much.